While everyone obsesses over the growing AI bubble, Google quietly pulled off something remarkable that initially went unnoticed. On October 29, 2025, they announced their third-quarter earnings, and buried within the financial jargon and corporate speak was a revelation that should terrify every AI startup and make every investor rethink their assumptions about who's actually winning the AI race. Let's start with the headline number. Google just posted its first-ever $100 billion quarter. $100 billion in 3 months. That's not a typo. Revenue hit $102.3 billion, up 16% year over year. But here's what's fascinating. Every single major part of their business grew at double-digit rates. Search revenue jumped to $56.6 billion. YouTube ads climbed to $10.3 billion. And Google Cloud, their enterprise division that everyone dismissed as perpetually behind AWS and Azure, exploded to $15.2 billion in quarterly revenue, growing at 34%. Now you might be thinking, okay, big tech company makes a lot of money. What else is new? But you're missing the forest for the trees. This isn't just about the numbers. This is about what the numbers reveal about Google's position in the AI arms race that every tech pundit insisted they were losing not so long ago. Remember all those think pieces from earlier this year about how Google was struggling to keep up, especially with OpenAI? Well, those takes aged like milk in the sun, because while everyone was down on Google, they were executing a strategy so comprehensive and so well-funded that it makes the competition look like they're playing checkers, while Google plays three-dimensional chess. Let's talk about what's actually happening behind the curtain. Google's AI infrastructure is processing 7 billion tokens per minute through their Gemini models via direct API usage. 7 billion per minute. And the Gemini app itself, it now has over 650 million monthly active users. That's not a startup number. That's not a we're catching up number. That's a dominance number. But here's where it gets really interesting. Google isn't just throwing AI features at the wall to see what sticks. They've deployed AI overviews in AI mode in search globally in what they're calling record time. They're not testing, they're not piloting, they're rolling out at scale to billions of users. And those users are apparently happy enough to keep using Google search because search revenue grew by nearly 15%. Think about what that means. Google took their most valuable product, the one generating over $56 billion a quarter, and they fundamentally changed how it works by injecting AI directly into the search experience. That's not a desperate move by a company trying to catch up. That's a confident move by a company that knows exactly what it's doing. Now let's connect this to something most people missed. While Google was posting these astronomical numbers, they were simultaneously cementing partnerships that reveal just how deep their AI moat really goes. They've integrated their infrastructure with Microsoft and NVIDIA in ways that position them as the backbone provider for AI development. They're not just competing in the AI space. They've become the infrastructure that everyone else has to use. The cloud business tells this story perfectly. Google Cloud ended the quarter with $155 billion in backlog. That's committed future revenue from enterprise customers who are betting big on Google's AI capabilities. These aren't consumers downloading a chatbot app. These are Fortune 500 companies, governments, and institutions making multi-year commitments worth billions. And speaking of betting big, let's talk about capital expenditures. Google just announced they'll spend $92 billion on infrastructure by the end of 2025. That's not a typo either. Nearly $100 billion in a single year, primarily going toward AI data centers, chips, and computing infrastructure. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire annual revenue of most tech companies. You want to know why this matters? Because AI development at scale isn't about who has the smartest researchers or the cleverest algorithms. At a certain level, it becomes a question of who can afford to build the computational infrastructure necessary to train and deploy models that actually work at global scale. And Google just announced they're willing to spend more money on AI infrastructure in 1 year than most of their competitors are worth. Here's what really keeps AI startup founders up at night. Google has over 300 million paid subscriptions across their services. YouTube Premium, Google One, YouTube TV. These aren't just revenue streams. They're distribution channels for AI features and data sources to feed Google's AI models. When Google decides to integrate AI capabilities into these products, they instantly reach hundreds of millions of paying customers who are already locked into the ecosystem. But the story gets even more interesting when you look at the profit margins. Even after absorbing a $3.5 billion fine from the European Commission and spending aggressively on AI development, Google's operating margin was still over 30%. Remove that fine, and it jumps to nearly 34%. They're making money hand over fist while simultaneously outspending everyone on future AI capabilities. The financial engineering here is almost beautiful in its simplicity. Google generates so much cash from their existing businesses that they can fund an AI arms race that would bankrupt most competitors, all while returning billions to shareholders through dividends and stock buybacks. Google paid out $2.5 billion in dividends this quarter alone and bought back over $11 billion in stock. Now here's where this connects to the broader narrative everyone's been missing. While the tech press was focused on other things, Google was quietly building something far more valuable. A full-stack AI company that controls everything from the chips to the data centers, to the models, to the applications, to the distribution channels. They're not dependent on Microsoft for cloud infrastructure like OpenAI is. They're not scrambling to find customers like pure-play AI startups are. They already have billions of users, hundreds of millions of paying customers, and more enterprise contracts than they can fulfill. All they had to do was inject AI into the existing machine, and that machine happens to generate $100 billion every 3 months. The implications of this are staggering. The AI race is not about who builds the best model. It's about who can deploy AI capabilities at planetary scale while remaining profitable. And Google just demonstrated they can do both simultaneously. Think about the downstream effects. If you're an AI startup right now, you're competing against a company that can afford to lose money on AI products indefinitely while using those products to make their core businesses more valuable. If you're an enterprise customer trying to choose an AI vendor, are you betting on the scrappy startup or the company processing 7 billion tokens per minute with $100 billion in annual infrastructure spend? The brutal truth is that Google was never really behind in the AI race. What looked like hesitation was actually careful preparation. What looked like scrambling was actually execution at a scale and speed that only a company with their resources could achieve. And now, as we head into 2026, Google isn't just participating in the AI revolution. They're defining it on their terms, with their infrastructure, using their distribution, and generating more profit in the process than most AI companies will ever see in revenue. They say the age of AI belongs to everyone, but in reality, it may end up belonging to Google.